All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, no, Chapter 2, Canto 1, Text 20.
Canto 2, Chapter 1.
Yeah. Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 20, sorry. Yeah. Rajastamobhyam akshiptam vimudam mana atmana yachedaranaya dhiro anti yatat kritam malam. Rajastamobhyam akshiptam vimudam vana atmana yachedaranaya dhiro anti yatat kritam malam. Rajastamobhyam akshiptam vimudham mana atmana yachedaranaya dhiro anti yatat kritam malam. Devotee, repeat.
Rajastamobhyam akshitam vimudham mana atmana yachadharayanaya dhiro hanti yatat katham kritam malam. I'm sorry.
Rajastamobhyam akshiptam vimudham mana atmana yachedharanaya dhiro hanti yatat kritam malam.
Nothing, anybody else? Anybody else? No. Okay, we do word-to-word translation. Rajas, the passionate mode of nature. Tamobhyam, as well as by ignorant mode or material nature. Akshiptam, agitated. Vimudham, bewildered. Mana, the mind. Atmana, of one own. Yachit, get it rectified. Dharanya, by conception of Vishnu. Dhira, the pacified. Hanti, destroys. Ya, all those. Tat kritam, done by them. Malam, dirty thing. Translation by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. One's mind is always agitated by passionate mode of material nature and bewildered by the ignorant mode of nature. But one can rectify such conception by the relation of Vishnu and thus become pacified by cleansing the dirty things created by them. Purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Person generally conducted by the modes of passion and ignorance cannot be bona fide candidates for being situated in the transcendental stage of God realization. Only person conducted by the modes of goodness can have the knowledge of the supreme truth. Effects of the mode of passion and ignorance are manifested by too much hankering after wealth and passion. And those who are too much after wealth and woman can rectify the leaning only by constant remembrance of Vishnu in his feature composed of impersonal potencies. Generally, the impersonalists or monists are influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance. Such impersonalists think of themselves as liberated souls, where they have no knowledge of the transcendental personal feature of the absolute truth. Actually, we are impure in heart on account of being devoid of knowledge of personal feature of the Absolute. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that after many hundreds of births and personalities, philosophers surrendered into the personality of Godhead. To acquire such a qualification of God realization in the personal feature, the neophyte person is given a chance to realize the relationship of the Lord in everything by the philosophy of pantheism. Pantheism, in its highest status, does not permit the student to form an impersonal conception of the absolute truth, but it extends the conception of the absolute truth in the field of so-called material energy. Everything created by material energy can be dovetailed with the absolute by the attitude of service, which is the essential part of living energy. The pure devotee of the Lord knows the art of converting everything into its spiritual existence by this service attitude. And only in the devotional way can the theory of pantheism be perfected. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Tapitam Yena Bhuto Sayam Bhupagaramayam Tudati Sapadam Tukam Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gope Sagopika Kandara Kantana Sute Bhakta Kansana Karangu Hare Vindavane Sri Vishwanam Shakiri Vishanamani Hare Krishna Nankakapatari Gota Sita Sindhile Kapatikanam Kavani Devasri Vinam Om Shri Ram Krishna Krishna Jagannatha Krishna 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 Hare Krishna, dear devotee. I'm going to continue. We continue our study of Bhagavad Gita, reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 20. So, Prabhupada pointed out in this verse about, how, the verse said, everyone's mind is agitated, because they are influenced by the mode of material nature, passion, and ignorance. So in order to counteract the mind from being agitated, one has to engage in the one fixed mind and go to speak for Lord Vishnu or Krishna. So, so actually, in this verse, there's several, the mode of nature. So when one in the mode, actually one has to come to the mode of goodness in order to, to control the agitated mind. So we can see, like everybody has experience, I has experience that the mind is always agitated by something or other. So in the mode of passion is very, very, very strong, and also the mode of ignorance. So, and like most of the world, they're living, like practically, they're living in this two kind of modes. Only a small portion of the world that, they elevate the mind by, by being Krishna consciousness and by following some spiritual path, and they can come to the level or mode of goodness. So as devotees of Krishna, it's very important for us, this one lesson, as long as our mind is in the mode of my passion and ignorance, we cannot understand, what we are doing. So it's very difficult, it's very, very important for us to elevate our mind, to control our mind, by coming in the mode of goodness. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, there's a whole, whole chapter about about, the modes of the three modes of material nature. And Krishna says that by becoming fixed in this knowledge, you know, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. So we have to be fixed in Krishna consciousness, so we can come to the, get the some godly in nature. This established one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. So Krishna, this is one verse in chapter 14. Also Prabhupada said, I talk about monism, about impersonalism, Mayavadi, and monism. They are both in the mode of passionate ignorance. So we may be thinking, okay, this impersonalists or they engage in some kind of meditation on their own self, they think that they are God themselves. But usually you see them some of them you see them very peaceful, like sitting and meditating, on the impersonal form of the Lord. Or is this a material mode of ignorance and passion? The Prabhupada very boldly mentioned, that those, in the mode of, those in the mode of passion, there are mode, the monism and the personality, usually they're in the mode of passion, ignorance, and the heart is very dirty. So, so I'm actually, why Srila Prabhupada is saying that, according to my understanding, because they don't understand the knowledge that Krishna has a personal form. Krishna is not impersonal. They think themselves God. That is a mistake. That means people whose lack of knowledge also, they are in the mode of passion and ignorance. But Prabhupada also, in the purport, he says he gave a solution that in order for anyone, to surpass this mode of passion and ignorance, one had to surrender to Lord Vishnu. So Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vamsa, since we're all into part and parcel of God, and we actually originally we are spiritual, but due to to be contaminated by the three modes of nature, we have forgot our real identity. Bhagavad Gita chapter 15.8, since it's the month of Purushottam, I'm thinking Krishna gave a very important verse there that I want to read. Amai Vamsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manasastandhyami Manasasta Indriyani, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpati. In this conditioned world, the living entity are my fragmental part. But due to being conditioned, the struggling hard with the senses and the mind. Manasastriyandi. And he said, and if one surrenders unto me, also he said, another verse in Bhagavad Gita, he said, Mam, this is Bhagavad Gita chapter 14. He said, Mam chayo vyabhacharena bhakti yogena sevati sagunan samatita yam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engage in full devotional service and feeling in awe, and at once, feeling in awe, at one transcend the modes of nature, thus come to the level of Brahman. What does that mean, come to the level of Brahman? Become, his mind is in the mode of goodness, and it's very easy for him to realize who is he, that he's part and parcel of Krishna, and his constitutional position is to serve Krishna. So that when you're more in the goodness, immediately you realize it, and in our case, in Krishna consciousness, we practice it by following the 4 rules and regulations, and by chanting the holy name of Krishna. By chanting the holy name of Krishna, we can fix our mind on Krishna, and thus we can get purified. Then we can transcend the three modes of nature, and all that is dirty in the mind, like Sita Mahaprabhu said, Cheto Darpana Marjanam Baba Mahadava Nirvapanam. All glory to the Krishna, Sri Krishna Sankirtan, cleanse the heart of all this accumulated for years. So, and most of us, our mind are very agitated, unless we take shelter of Krishna, by adopting the process of bhakti yoga. Prabhupada always mentioned, what is the best way? The process of bhakti yoga. Only by the process of bhakti yoga, then we can, by devotional service to the Lord, one can come to the level of goodness. The goodness itself is not sufficient. Ultimately, as Vaishnava, we are aiming toward true devotional service to support business. Our goal is to love Krishna and to serve Krishna. But by being in the mode of goodness, we can cultivate knowledge. We can become pure in heart. And this is required for us to progress in spiritual life. This is very important. So, also another point is that the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada speak about pantheism. What does pantheism mean? Anybody can describe what pantheism means? Prabhupada discussed that, almost one paragraph about pantheism.
Is it praying to many gods?
In one way, this is like what is called omni. We don't know. Actually, it's not many gods, but it accepts that the people accept many gods, like God emerging. Actually, the real pantheism means, the definition of pantheism is mean it does not allow a student to have it in the mind that God is impersonal conception at so-called material emerging. And to also pantheism mean the pantheists believe that the universe itself is everything. That is pantheism. The universe itself is everything in the form in the form of a single or all empowered deity. Some say it is a theology, and some say philosophical position of God. You heard people saying many times. I know so many conversations. I've heard people saying, "Oh, the universe." They think that the energy. All the universe is. Like the energy of the Lord, like the universe, the material nature, is God Himself. They don't believe in certain, like God should be like, like you should worship God only like a person. They accept like God can be, because the God, God can be present in the person, but actually the whole universe is God. And okay, actually the doctrine of pantheism says identify God with the universe or regard the universe as a manifestation of God. Another belief of the pantheism is a worship that admit or tolerate all gods. They see that God is everything, and everything is God in the world. Is either identical with God or in some way a self-expression of His nature. That's what pantheism is, the philosophy of pantheism is. Pantheism believes in one God. Pantheists believe that the universe itself and everything in the form is single empowered deity. Some say it is theological, some say it's philosophical position of God. Do pantheism, they pray to God? Actually, theists think that it's appropriate to pray to God in the hope that he will thereby intervene in affairs. On the other hand, such prayer is often held to be quite inappropriate for pantheists, a view endorsed by many pantheists themselves. I think there's so many religions that follows this, the theory of pantheism. Like according to the dictionary, they say that the Buddhism, Hinduism, and the Taoism, there are three religions that follow this theory. The atheists, they believe in something divine, and like the not the atheists, I mean the theists, they believe that God is something divine. But the atheists, they don't believe in any kind of divinity. Also, it is said it is no belief claim that the creation uh, uh, and deity form of God, they are like God. And there's so many great philosophers also that believe in the theory of pantheism. Is one example that I read was Walter Emerson. He believed that that everything is God. Everything is God. God is everything, and everything is God, and it is identical to the universe. Okay. Also, who are in the mode of goodness? What is one of the qualities that Bhagavad Gita said? It is text 7, 8, and 6, 7, 8 in chapter 14. Prabhupada, Krishna himself explained who are those in the mode of goodness. He says, or sinless one, the mode of nature of goodness, being purer than others, is illuminating and is free one from all sinful reaction. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. So that the people described, the people in the mode of goodness, and the people in the passion. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longing. O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to this material fruitive activity. This is referred to people, materialistic people who are always working hard, endeavoring so much, so much freedom. They have so much ambition in life. We just want to acquire so much material thing. These are people that constantly, the mind is always agitated because they constantly, hankering and lamenting, But those in the mode of goodness, they are very pure, they're very peaceful, they come to the level of Brahma Bhuta. The Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na sochati na kanshati. You know. Brahma Bhuta means, come to the level of Brahman when there's no lamenting, hankering and lamenting. We're just satisfied. We're just satisfied. They got peace of mind. And these people usually they know the goodness because they have the knowledge, and what is the goal of life. So they always feel they have a sense of happiness. They always feel happy. There's one lesson we can hear, sometimes we can see why we are so unhappy, why our mind is so disturbed and everything. So we have a solution in this verse, like for me, if your mind is disturbed, your mind is agitated, you know, you can immediately take shelter of the holy name of Krishna, or just try to read Bhagavad Gita, or just try to do something spiritual, like read Srimad Bhagavatam, or chant the holy name of the Lord, or hear, the holy name of the Lord, hear, or hear a lecture given by Srila Prabhupada. Immediately, you come to, you know, you come to the level, you got the knowledge, and by this knowledge, you can make yourself feel happy. So Krishna is very merciful to give us Bhagavad Gita. He gave the solution for all problems. It's just we ourselves, we are so reluctant to take it. That's why, you know, we kept us as ourselves, you know, we are so unhappy, at certain time. But we can see that people who are very Krishna conscious, they're very peaceful, they're very peaceful, and you can see a glow in the face, because they're feeling a sense of happiness. A sense of happiness within, you just, by accepting. But the devotee, even devotees have so many difficulties in a moment, but I know they can tolerate all the difficulties just by thinking of Krishna, and they won't like dwell on the negative thing that's happened of Krishna. They understand, this has happened maybe due to some bad reaction, and this is the nature of this world, this material world is already dominated by the three modes of material nature, passion, you know, and because I'm being, contaminated by this mode, that's why I'm feeling like that. There's a emotion by knowledge, it can uplift the consciousness. So this is one very nice point that I would like to put in practice, in my personal life, whenever difficulty, whenever I'm agitated, I just take shelter of Krishna. I have some realization. I practice it, several times, you know, whenever I'll read Srimad Bhagavatam, or read Bhagavad Gita, or chant and concentrate on the holy name of the Lord, I immediately feel, very peaceful within. So that's a good lesson we can take 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 from this verse today. Prabhupada, also Prabhupada devotional service. We are so fortunate, like we got the knowledge, we got the book, we got the association. And it's up to us, and and pray to Krishna. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes we're put in situation we can't help it, like our mind get very disturbed, very agitated. So at that time, what do we do, because we have the knowledge, we always have to, change the holy name of the Lord and Krishna. Within our heart will guide us, what the best thing to do. Because Krishna will always take care of his devotees, and always take care of his devotees. And he will not, if we pray to him, if we surrender to him sincerely, as Paramatma, he will really, help us, to how to get free from all this agitation that's going on. And also, we have to avoid certain things that make our mind disturbed. you know, what the mind, like we should not associate with non-devotees, like during destruction say, we should not, and we should not eat food that are cooked by non-devotees, and we should not try to accumulate so much wealth, money, because we have to accept our quota, whatever Upanishad said, whatever Krishna gave us. And we have to, there's some favorable and unfavorable things that we can apply according to next instruction, and there's so many favorable things. Can anybody mention any favorable thing that mentioned in nectar of instruction and favorable thing that help us in our spiritual, in the practice of our devotional service? Usually there are six activities that spoil our devotional service, that will really make us unhappy, make it as for us difficult to understand Krishna, to practice Krishna. Can anybody mention him?
Go ahead, Kalpesh.
Okay. Who is it? Kalpesh?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble
Yeah,
obeisances.
everyone can say one.
Tell you what I remember. Eating
Okay.
more than uh, required, trying to collect more funds,
Yeah,
and working for a mundane and working very hard, um, and associating with non-devotees. Um, uh, yeah, not following the footstep probably of
yeah,
uh,
yeah. I think you said eating more than necessary and collecting more funds than required. Yeah, that's
practicing spiritual scriptures and that whatever that studies just for sake of doing it, but not seriously thinking about advancing himself to do that.
yeah.
So
Following, practicing scriptural rules and regulation only for the sake of following them, and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. That's what real two you say. Then also you said
associating with non-devotees.
association with worldly minded people, the people who are not interested in Krishna consciousness usually.
Yeah, I think so. For
Three. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Anybody else want to add? Okay. I can give the Kalpesh Prabhu mentioned three of them. So anybody want to add? I can. Is it over endeavoring for mundane things that is very difficult to obtain? You know, like that's the people usually in the mode of passion. They're the one always over endeavoring for mundane things. You know, they're very difficult, and also talk unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. So instead, what does that mean? Talking unnecessarily about mundane spiritual matters. You know, sometimes you know we tend to just talk, sing about the world, about ourselves, about what movie is going on, what
Gossiping.
takes, and this is all mundane. If we constantly speak about this, it's very difficult for us to fix our mind on Krishna. That the positive thing is that we have, we can talk about it at time, a little bit, it's okay here and there. But if people constantly, whenever you meet them, they're just talking about themselves, about what's going on in the world, what our movie is going on, and they don't speak anything about Krishna. So these are very, people that we have to avoid, because they don't remind us of Krishna. They're just talking about mundane things. That is not, conducive for our spiritual life. Those who are sincere in devotional service should always seek and hear about topic regarding Krishna, about Krishna consciousness. Because that is another thing that can spoil, our devotional service. And also, like you said, also some people they practice scriptural rules and regulation only for the sake of them, not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulation and working independently and whimsically. So this is another negative, thing for us that we should not adopt. Sometimes we do it, in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes, we forgot why we joined the moment, why we're chanting Hare Krishna, why we just do it like a ritual. So this is also just for the sake, we're just following because, you know, we came to Krishna consciousness, and that's what they said we have to do, we do it. And we have to know the reason behind it also, why we're chanting Hare Krishna, why we have to read Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, why we have to engage in devotional service. It is very important also to keep this in mind, why we are doing what we are doing. It's not only we just do it, we do the service, like we're doing arti, we're just waving, we are waving, the 7, 4, 5, like I do arti all the time. I always think that I'm worshiping the Supreme Personality. Krishna is present there, and you have to keep in mind all the time. And Krishna is present in the deity form. And by worshiping Krishna, I'm learning, I am practicing how to serve Krishna, how to glorify Krishna. If we're chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, doing Kirtan just for a show, just for a show, just to make people appreciate, how well we can chant, how we're so musical, how we have such a good voice, all this stuff. All our action in Krishna consciousness should be done in the mood of devotion, and we have to constantly remind this is really knowledge and pure goodness, unless we come to that level, we'll never make advancement in spiritual life. Also associating with worldly minded person who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. So this is the fifth, thing. There's sometimes, in life, we can't help it, we'll come across so many people who are not Krishna consciousness. So suppose we go to workplace, in our office, we will see like there are hundreds of employees sometime, and not all of them. And we have to deal with them 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day, and they're not Krishna consciousness. So that means we're constantly associated with worldly minded. But associating that means you taking their ways of life. So in fact, we give our association whatever we have, Krishna consciousness. We don't take association from them. We can be in the surrounding, but our consciousness will always remain. From within, internally, we are always have to think that, I'm a devotee of Krishna. I'm trying to practice Krishna consciousness. I'll try my best not to take the association. Even you can be in the same room, we have to do business, we have to do so many things together. At the same time, you don't take the association. At the end of the day, when you come home, you have to chant Hare Krishna, and you won't follow whatever they follow. We just do our duty, but not being attached to the surrounding. That means, not associated with worldly minded people according to my realization, and it's, it can help sometimes, you have to associate with a lot of devotees, a lot of non-devotees, or worldly minded people who are always speaking how much, about money, sex, movies, meat eating, like, you go to workplace, you can see you're sitting the same in the break room, now some people are just eating, like a hamburger, like they're eating like cow meat, and they're just talking, oh, I love steak. I love to eat meat. I cannot, I remember one time I was with some group of people. I said, how can you be vegetarian? Where do you get your protein? You know, you'll be vegetarian, like, I can't live without meat. Meat is everything, I love my steak. I love my chicken. I love my, you hear all these things from these people, but at the same time, because they are talking about it, you don't change. you know
Workplace,
internally.
they used to say that you don't know what you are missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
never
that's
had taste that what I don't know what I'm missing. I'm happy with my own.
yeah. So this is a world-minded people, so we don't associate closely with it. We don't take the ways of life. That mean associating with many people. And the number six, if they being greedy for mundane achievement. Sometimes, we cannot over endeavor for thing. Whatever we are destined to have, we will get it. But if we just, like neglect our spiritual practice, just being greedy for mundane achievement, that also spoil our devotional life. And also, Srila Prabhupada, it's very important, but but there's some favorable thing also we can apply for in our devotional service that is really mode of goodness. What do we do? Anybody want what how we use this favorable thing in our devotional service? Anybody want to talk
The
about
Dadate Pratikrihnate,
okay.
giving and accepting gifts.
Okay. Yeah, that's yeah,
Prasadam,
yeah,
and then inquiring and talking in confidence.
yeah.
Those are the six
This is the six loving
exchanges.
exchange between devotees. There were the six favorable principles are, like we have to be enthusiastic
Oh.
in Krishna consciousness, very enthusiastic. And also, second is the endeavoring with confidence and be patient. When being enthusiastic, like we always have to be enthusiastic to change our round. Then we know, like we're in the right path. Even we're not enthusiastic, we're not always enthusiastic because we always somehow there's a mode of nature sometimes control our mind. Oh my God, I have to change 16 rounds, even to pick up your bead and to go and chant. But you have to live by your knowledge that we got. Okay, that's the only way I can chant, I have to. Sometimes we have to push our mind. We don't listen to what our mind said. We have to use our knowledge by chanting Hare Krishna. That's the only way we can be in the mode of goodness and we can remember Krishna. So we push ourselves and go and pick up our bead, and just chant, chant the holy name. And immediately after some time, if you sincerely like try to chant, even in the beginning, your mind may be full of, rejection. I don't want, but if you sincerely, Krishna really help you. After some time, when you start first round, second round, third round, you can see, how your mind is getting purified. The dirty thing, like Prabhupada, the purpose, they start like being cleansed by the power of the holy name. So that's the only solution, for us not to be agitated, to control our mind, to situate ourselves in the mode of goodness. And also, he said, we are endeavoring with confidence, and we have to be confident also, like here, yeah, Krishna is there to help me. Krishna will always protect me. Krishna will always, help me. And also being patient. We have to be patient. We can expect, okay, I've been chanting for so many years. Why my mind is still, why I'm still like not feeling the bliss of Krishna consciousness? Why I'm not feeling like the scripture said, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, like we become very blissful. Why I'm not become blissful? We should understand that for so many lifetimes we've been contaminated, conditioned in this world, you know. But we have to have hope against hope that one day, like the Goswami said in Nectar of Devotion, hope against hope. One day, I will come if I keep on doing it. Prabhupada gives the example of like if a woman get married, it is natural she wanted a child. But if she wants the child immediately, she can get the child immediately. She has to go through the process of conception, through all the process, pregnancy and everything. After 9 months, then she can have the baby immediately. If she want the baby, she can have the baby. She have to wait. You have to be patient. Unless you be patient, you cannot get whatever you want. Similarly, in order to for us, to experience Krishna consciousness, the bliss in Krishna consciousness, we really have to be patient. And also we have the fourth Prabhupada and the principle, that favorable principle is acting according to regulative principles such as Shavana, Kirtana, Vishnu Smaranam. So that is recommended always, we always have to try to follow this principle, that is favorable devotion service, always engage, the whole chapter, the whole canto, chapter 2, it's been talking, how one has to pick up our mind as a lotus feet of Krishna. Like yesterday's class, we have to stop, remembering Krishna all the time, by fixing our mind on Krishna, and the Prabhupada repeatedly in so many places in all his books, he said, the only process for us, is you know, to remember, we have to adopt to this Shavanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam in order to attain, our spiritual goal, to be Krishna consciousness. So we have to constantly remember Krishna. And so another thing is that nectar instruction only, it is said that there's 5 stages how we can come to the level of Brahman, like trance. There's a 5 step. First, we have to remember Krishna by hearing and chanting the Shravan and Kirtana. By hearing, then our mind become absorbed, because we are doing it regularly, our mind become absorbed in Krishna. And then by absorb, then we'll meditate on that. First, recollect what we hear. If suppose we're listening to a lecture, we're chanting our Krishna, if we're hearing it, then we'll remember it, recollect it. Then our mind become absorbed. Then our mind we can meditate on the name of Krishna. And the fourth is that by constantly remembering of Krishna, then we'll come to the level of Brahma Buddha, becoming a Brahma. We can realize, we become trance, we become in ecstasy, because then we become on the highest level of spiritual life, of pure prema bhakti. So this is like Krishna consciousness is a science, like we have to remember that. We have to follow all the step by step that are given by the Acharya, Vishwa Prabhupada, or our previous Acharyas, how to become Krishna consciousness. If we just, try to, that's why it's very important, for us to study the books of Srila Prabhupada, to read the books of Srila Prabhupada. That will really help us, I like we have been, in order to come to the mode of goodness, we have to come, then we get knowledge, and we get happiness. So by adapting all this process, like we've been reading now, then we can come to the level of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we say, why we're not becoming Krishna consciousness? Somehow other, we're not really following the scripture. That's why we are not experiencing, that we are making any advancement. And also abandoning the association of non-devotees. and it is like the same, like before the unfavorable one is said not associate with worldly-minded people, and and here it's abandoning, like somehow or other we try to avoid the association of people on Krishna consciousness. They will affect our mind. Sometimes they can bring us down, if we're not strong. But we're not always strong. There's a mode of material nature fluctuate. Sometimes we're in the mode of goodness, sometimes we're in the mode of passion, sometimes we're in the mode of ignorance, sometimes we're in the mixed mode, sometimes we're in the mode of goodness and passion, passion and goodness, goodness and ignorance. So we're constantly in this mode. So we have to overcome all the modes. So that's why, like if you associate with people with knowledge, with the Krishna consciousness, you know, then our consciousness also will be elevated. And another thing is that it's a following footsteps of previous acharyas. So for by following the footsteps of all the acharyas, like we've just been talking, like we come from parampara. We follow we follow our guru follow Srila Prabhupada, and we are following the Prabhupada and Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Brahman, follow all the previous Rupa Goswami, all the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. We're following in all the footsteps, then 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 we also can elevate our consciousness. So these by following all these rules and regulations, like I mentioned, and also then we are guaranteed that we can have success in Krishna consciousness. Then our heart can be cleansed, and all the dirty things in our heart will be cleansed, and our mind will not be agitated, and we come to the level we will practice the knowledge that we got. We can become Krishna consciousness and be situated in the mode above goodness, even above goodness. Just to be in the mode of goodness itself, like I mentioned previously, it's not sufficient to above by faith. We have to constantly come above goodness, in pure goodness. Pure goodness means then we can realize, we can get Krishna Prema, that all of us, in the line of, Gaudiya Sampradaya. Ultimately, we want to come to get Krishna Prema, love of Godhead, love of Krishna, by practicing Krishna consciousness. At least come to the mode of goodness. We can always know that Krishna is everything. Everything comes, all the material energy, everything, all the universe, like according to the philosophy of pantheism, then you've got everything come from Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam bhavati. Yetamam bhajante mam sudha bhava samandita. That's another nice verse, that everything material and spiritual emanates from Krishna. And those who engage in devotions, those who worship me, they're the most intelligent. On this note, I would like to end. Anybody have any addition or subtraction or any comment?
If anybody has any questions or comments, please just unmute yourself. Good reminders today, Mataji, about how to practice. I probably have to do a better job of remembering what I am learning.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking it's very important just to practice, like we're not doing it for the sake of doing it, whatever we're doing.
Go ahead, Kalpesh Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you.
It is so like I probably remember these things, but and I also have a knowledge that this is the hindrance in my not able to develop the Krishna consciousness. How amazing is that that mind is not allowing me, like because so many like the first point itself I feel like eating more than necessary, so I like, in my case like I may not eat or I may not eat something more, but I think so I get the thoughts of eating more, and then sometime I may not have control on what I am eating, and the fundamental why I understand is eating. When we eat more, then the consciousness is now going more into body rather than Krishna, and to digest that food, you will require a more sleep quota, and basically I may end up in sleeping more and becoming more lazy, tired, because the energy, whole energy will be like now in the body will be to how to digest that food. And then I cannot focus, I cannot have the attention in my chanting. So I notate for myself that way, that when we don't regulate that, what how much quantity we have to eat, what time we have to eat, what material we have to put into the body, this all creates modes in our body. And that is how we that is how we can like, if we don't really take this sincerely, like then the sadhana of chanting will not really be more effective and attentive. So
Yeah,
of course,
yeah,
yeah,
you're very right. Yeah, we have to control everything. Actually, we think that is prasadam, it's not different from Krishna. We overindulge, but if this is affecting you, if somehow or other, you have to try to control. So it's the most difficult thing to control, the tongue.
it is right.
Isn't that the tongue is very most difficult thing to control. So by constant endeavor, in temptation, one day we'll come to that level, at least we have to bear in mind what is detrimental, because we have the knowledge. So we have to practice the knowledge.
Mhm.
And try and sometimes we have to pray to Krishna to help us, it's a gradual process, devotional service. We can have the knowledge, then it's very difficult to put in practice. Like you say, easily said than done.
Yeah, right.
Isn't
So
it? Yeah, and that's why my concept, that's all reminding ourselves of this, like sometimes when we do it, then at least we can think about twice sometimes. It's a gradual process, but if you have like sincere desire to overcome it, you will do it. Because whatever we want to attain in life, we do it by practice and ultimately we get it. So same thing, whatever we want to attain favorable to practice Krishna consciousness, if we keep on doing it, we can come to that.
mm,
We have to do our part and then ask for Krishna's mercy.
Krishna's help.
First, we need to do our
And the
part.
devotee help, sometimes, accidents with some devotees also can be a big instrument for us, to help us.
so Mataji, you mentioned very important point is praying. That is where I am not doing it. I'm trying to think all on myself endeavor. Like I try to do, okay, how can I do it? But I am not dependent on that.
Mhm.
That is here is, like I have to start learning, like how can I meditate more, ask things which are hindering my development in the consciousness for Krishna. So like, but other things like other things which were mentioned in that points you were saying that like we like prajalpa is the one of the thing is what happens. Um, not every time with intention. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just because uh, in the situation we are, right? So uh, it's it's
Yeah.
very
Yeah. Sometimes, like we are with some family, they just talk about mundane thing, what to do. They just leave and being rude and just get out from there. Yeah, but if constantly try to seek the association and be in such association and hear the same thing again and again, that mean prajalpa. You're engaging in prajalpa. But once a while you're put in situation where you're forced to be associating with prajalpa. So, internally we have to think, okay, that's not the best thing for me to be. Somehow they try to avoid it and that try to put yourself in such situation that you had to be talking about prajalpa.
mm. Then
Mhm.
other people are collecting more funds than required. Then I always think, okay, what is my consciousness is why I have to collect more is because all the time the answer comes is, oh, if when I become like old and I may not have support, so how would I support myself? So let me work right now and save something so that mentality is been trained from childhood. I mean, how can we really like, because every time in from the childhood and all the education which I got through schooling and through my association around my wherever I was living, or even I came here in United States, the whole world which we are living right now, they always make you train to think how to think about you all the time, and at the same time, how to the job is like our God. In the like money is a big like money has become a god for us, somehow, like for me at least, uh, and
Everybody needs certain amount of fun, like we have to be practical also, in this life, but
Don't eat more than
you
what you do.
over enduring to collect the money, goes to so many, you do certain thing, but we should not just over collecting. And if you have extra, you give like, that, give in charity, like one or another principle favorable of, giving charity. What being charitable gift, you give it to spread Krishna consciousness. Like Rupa Goswami, what he did with his wealth, he was working in the government, and then he gave 50%, like Prabhupada said, for spiritual activity. 25% he kept for his personal security, and 25% he gave to his family. So,
yeah, Mataji, in my like I work in a corporate. What that every time my manager, like we have a evolution every year, career planning development, and in that evolution I have to write goals, right? And I have to meet that goals. And every time I have to write a development goal, objective goal, performance goal, so many goals. So, and if I don't write, and every section has a three different goals. Like in performance, I have to do three goals. Objective, I have to. So they make you work like a donkey to make sure that you are not overcoming out of it, because you have to protect your job. You will be always thinking about it. How can you survive from that job? So that fear is there. The point is like collecting more fund is like how it is connected with, like, how can we not I cannot give more time because I have a fear within my heart. If I don't have a job, what will happen to me? And because I'm not dependent on Krishna, and then that way I understand that whatever my duties are, I have to live in this world. I have to collect certain funds to maintain my family and all those things. But thing is like the in the world which we are living right now and the jobs we are making, they every year I have to change my goal, whatever my development goal, my manager will make sure that it goes and converted into performance goal, because their goal is to make money in the corporate, right? And they see me as a money making machine. and how can I make money for them? If I am not making, if I am not profitable for them, they are not going to show kindness towards me. So the thing is, like, we when we think about it, right, how do we overcome that fear? Like, the whole fear is, how am I going to sustain my body when I'm old and I may not have sufficient fund? And and in the world which we are living right now, the escalation of cost, and the prices which are increasing, like, if you want to buy even house here, it is so difficult, with
Yeah,
money.
it is at the same time, like if you see that it's like spoiling your spiritual life, you have to think maybe this is not for me, that sometimes we have to do whatever we need to do, but at the same time, just pray Krishna to guide us what's the best thing, if you think that this one is giving me so much, is agitating my mind all the time, making me unhappy, and you know as long as you're doing it, okay, I'll do it, and just be detached from the result. They do whatever you need to do, like Krishna say, do your duty, like fighting a war like Arjuna did, was not an easy task. He didn't want to kill his own relatives and engage in the war, but he did it because Krishna asked him to do. And you sometime in life, you have to have a spiritual guidance. That if you feel like your work is detrimental to your spiritual practice, you know, like, and it's really like giving you so much mental agony or so much mental problem, and you have to do something about it, you know. And we always have to pray to Krishna what's the best for us. And Krishna is our best friend, and he will guide us. He will
Only way.
guide us, and he
Krishna
But
knows
is
what's
behind
the
you,
best for us.
Kalpesh
He
Prabhu.
knows what's the best for us.
yes, Mataji, you were saying something. Sorry.
Krishna is behind you, Kalpesh Prabhu, all the time.
Yeah.
In that. You have the picture also.
Yeah, that is the key. You mentioned a right point, for every lock there is a key, and the key is only Krishna. If we but the problem is we don't know where to put the key, and we don't I mean, for me, I'm talking about it's a very right.
Yeah, there's a lot of things confusing in this world. We don't know what to do. But the thing is that sometimes it is okay. We're supposed to chant Hare Krishna and be connected to Krishna, and just chant, read, and whatever you do, just think of Krishna. By constant remembering of Krishna. We cannot be too hard on ourselves. Okay, we cannot get everything material. Sometimes you're put in certain situation, you just have to accept it, accept it and leave it to Krishna. But if it's really, really like, what is the best for you and what is really like, because this material, the nature of this material world is not like we were always going to be happy. You know, material world is full of miseries,
Mhm.
and it's temporary. And that doesn't mean, we just try our best to follow, you know, the rules and regulations, whatever is set by our spiritual predecessor, and try, to be Krishna conscious somehow or other in all circumstances. And it's not a bad thing, you're working and trying to secure your future, like, it's good. Then you'll be more happy to practice Krishna consciousness. It's not like that you want to have so much money, then you want to enjoy,
Mhm.
you know, that you have to have this consciousness. My goal is to be Krishna conscious, to always remember Krishna, to always serve Krishna somehow or other, in whatever position, whatever time I got, like, you're doing good, you're spending, using some of your time going out and distributing Krishna books, Prabhupada books, and you're trying to read Prabhupada book, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, you're on that path. Be on the path. And you're trying to chant Hare Krishna, and we're doing it, and you know the goal of life, and you work a certain time, a certain time you retire, then like you said, just follow, give 50% of your work for spreading Krishna consciousness, keep 25% for you, 25 for your family, like Rupa Goswami did. Mm. Okay, anybody else?
Mataji.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We have some more references. Other Vidyavali, you have anything I forget to ask?
No. Just, this remembering Krishna like that, If you don't talk to your neighbors, they may not come and help you. So you need to chant Krishna all the time. You need to tell him that I am here.
Yeah, it's not like,
I need your help. That's it.
yeah.
That's how we used to learn in childhood. Anyway, thank you very much, Mataji.
Okay.